Here are 14 easy mistakes that'll get your YouTube channel banned, meaning all your hard work down the drain. Now, this first one is something I see a lot of small creators make, especially the types who watch videos like the one you're watching right now. See, there's been a rise in people trying to use the comment sections of videos like this to try and grow their subscriber counts. And they usually do that in two ways. Either they spam a bunch of comments, hoping that one of them is going to get a bunch of likes and then generate some exposure for their channel, or they find comments that have already got a bunch of likes and they respond to those comments in a way that sort of insinuates they want to do sub for sub. In other words, they try to subscribe to other people's channels in exchange for those other people subscribing to them. And look, I don't think there's any bad intentions here, and I get it. When you've been struggling to grow your channel, every morning you wake up, you check your sub count, it's exactly the same. It can be tempting to just try and brute force your way to more subscribers. But the problem is, aside from the fact that it actually hurts you, which I'll talk more about in a sec, you can actually get banned for doing this. Especially if you're replying to or commenting multiple times on the same video. YouTube sometimes picks that up as spam or bot behavior, and I've heard people's channels get deleted entirely because of it. So it's really not worth engaging in this kind of behavior. Plus, even if you don't get caught, it really doesn't help you that much. Like, even if you do get a bunch more subscribers, those subscribers aren't going to watch your videos. And I actually think it's worse to have a channel with a couple of thousand subscribers getting 7 views every video than it is to have a smaller channel getting 7 views on average every video, because at least viewers can look at that and be like, well, at least that ratio makes sense. But the next thing that can get your channel deleted actually happened to my friend, and he was a really experienced YouTuber. He had hundreds of thousands of subs. I'm not gonna name him, but if you guys watch videos like this one, you would probably know him. What happened to him is, you know how you can have multiple YouTube channels under the same account? So for example, if I come in here and go switch accounts, you can see that I have my one Google account up here, but then I have multiple channels underneath that account. Well, what happened to my friend is he had multiple channels underneath his account, and one of those channels got 3 strikes, which basically means your channel gets deleted, and I'll talk more about how to not get 3 strikes later. So anyway, one of the channels, not his main channel, one of the channels under his account got removed. And what happened is that triggered his entire account to get deleted, meaning he lost his main channel with hundreds of thousands of subs. So not only did he lose the smaller channel, but he then went on to lose his main channel too. Now, he was a larger creator, so luckily he was able to get onto YouTube, get them to reinstate his account within, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks. But as a smaller creator, I don't know if you've ever tried reaching out to YouTube support, but it can be tough. So long story short, if you're going to use multiple YouTube channels, have them on separate accounts. So if one goes down, it doesn't take all the rest down with them. But then the next way you can get your channel deleted is even crazier. So basically, there are hackers out there who have dodgy products they're trying to drive traffic to. And one of the ways they do that is by hacking into YouTube accounts and changing the links in your about section, in the descriptions of your videos, in the pinned comments, and maybe even commenting these links on other videos. And these links drive viewers to their dodgy crypto scam or whatever it is, which is pretty bad in and of itself. But what's worse is then the viewers will sometimes report your channel, the whole thing gets taken down, and so not only have you been hacked, but you now lose your channel too. And from what I've been seeing, there's 2 big ways these hackers do this. The first is they'll send you a fake sponsorship email. Let me show you what these look like so you can actually tell the difference between fake ones and real ones. All right, so here's a good but pretty obvious example here. So a couple of the tells of these emails. Firstly, they'll very rarely address you personally. So for example, this just says, "Hi, nothing." And then they'll usually be very vague in proposing something. So like here it says, "I came across your website and read about your online marketing strategies and systems," which is already a dead giveaway. So anyway, they'll do that. Often they'll like propose a large amount of money in here to sort of get you excited. But another 2 dead giveaways, usually they won't have some sort of like company email signature. So like a real company, a proper company will usually have a custom email signature, like the one I'll show on screen. But these guys will just type out something, right? And then the other thing I want to do, have a look at the email address that it was sent from. Often it'll be sent from like a Gmail address, which is like a dead giveaway. This one seems to be sent from a real domain. So what I would do is I'll like copy this, paste this into here. And sometimes you want to be careful doing this. See, look, the whole website broken, doesn't work. So this is clearly fake. So if I responded to this, they'd probably send me a link that if clicked, do bad things to my computer and YouTube account. So you want to be careful of those. Again, on screen, I'll list the things that I look for so you can tell whether it's real or fake. Now, the other thing you want to be careful of is often when you're signing up for YouTube tools, like Velio, for instance, it'll ask you to link your YouTube account. Now, most tools do this for genuine reasons, but the problem is those tools can get hacked, and then the hackers can access all the YouTube channels that have been linked to that tool, including yours if you linked it. So if there's a tool you don't fully trust, or maybe one that you used to use but don't use it anymore, just be safe, unlink it. And an easy way to do that quickly is you can go to Chrome, then go to your Google account, then come to security, then go see all connections, and you can see a list of all the things linked to your account. If you don't like one of them, let's say this one, you click into it and just hit delete all connections you have with this thing. Now, the next thing you want to be careful of actually got me in trouble from my first video on this channel. So when I first started creating videos for this channel, a gap in the market I saw for content was no one's talking about how to download YouTube videos, but that's something that's really useful to know. So I created a video how to download a YouTube video, which is a problem because downloading YouTube videos is against YouTube's terms and conditions. So even though I tried to be sneaky about it, YouTube detected it and I got a strike, which was something I mentioned earlier. Basically, the way strikes work, if you get 3 strikes in 90 days, your channel gets deleted. So basically, you want to make sure you're not creating content that goes against YouTube's community guidelines, but also don't make content showing people how to or encouraging illegal activities. Hacking, scamming, drug use, piracy. YouTube has a long list of things they don't like, but YouTube and hackers aren't the only thing you have to worry about when it comes to getting your channel deleted. Because we also have the wonderful world of copyright. See my face? This is how excited I am about copyright. See, it's not that I have a problem with copyright itself, but the way YouTube handles it now is not great, and it's really easy for your channel to get deleted if you get it wrong. So back in the day, back in the good old days, if someone else caught you using their content, their photos, their footage, their IP in one of your YouTube videos and they didn't like it, they could submit a copyright claim on that video. That copyright claim would go to YouTube, YouTube would let you know, and then you had the option to be like, yeah, well, my bad, sorry, and take the video down, pay the person whatever it is they want you to do. Or you could be like, no, I haven't infringed anyone's copyright here, and you could dispute it with YouTube. And then YouTube would work with you and the copyright claimant to try to figure out who's in the right so they can decide what to do. The problem is that method doesn't scale very well when you have millions and billions of people using YouTube. So what YouTube now do is essentially they've just removed themselves from that whole equation. If someone submits a copyright claim on your video, it goes directly to you, and then you and the claimant have to work out who's in the right. And if you can't decide or the claimant's not cooperating, usually the copyright strike ends up staying on your channel, which is scary for 2 reasons. Firstly, like with community guideline strikes we talked about earlier, if you get 3 copyright strikes, your channel gets deleted. But the other scary aspect is someone can submit 3 copyright strikes on your channel very quickly in succession. I've seen multiple horror stories on Reddit of people who had a perfectly fine channel, then literally overnight, someone submits 3 copyright strikes on 3 individual videos of theirs, and their channel gets taken down. So long story short, be careful using content that you don't own or have the rights to use. But if you are going to use it, think about the human element. Think about how you would feel if someone stole a bunch of your work and your content and used it in their video without crediting you. Probably be ripped off, feel cheated, be pissed. But now let's imagine that exact same scenario, but they give you a ton of credit. They link you in the description, link you in the video, maybe even mention that, oh, the footage they're using is actually from your channel. In that case, free shout out. You probably wouldn't mind much. So if you are going to use other people's content without permission, try to do it as ethically as possible, especially if there's a likelihood that person's going to find your video. Now this can be scary and overwhelming, and obviously what I'm sharing with you isn't legal advice. I look like a lawyer with this hair. But one helpful thing I've found can be look at what the standard for using other people's content is in your niche. And that might help you decide what you feel comfortable doing and not doing when it comes to using other people's content. So worst case scenario, if a copyright claimant does go on a rampage, chances are they're going after the big fish first and you'll see it coming. Maybe you'll be able to delete the videos using the copyrighted content. Okay, so the next way to get your channel deleted is an interesting one because it actually revolves very closely or is like adjacent to a strategy a lot of YouTube gurus are encouraging right now, including myself. Not that I would say I'm a guru, but you've probably seen videos from people saying that you want to find videos that are working in your niche and take inspiration from them when creating your own videos. And what's interesting about this is it's a very fine line between taking inspiration from someone and outright copying / impersonating them. The latter of which could be tricky because YouTube actually have an impersonation policy, and it defines impersonation as a channel that copies another channel's profile picture, background, overall look, and feel in such a way that it makes it look like someone else's channel. The channel does not have to be 100% identical as long as the intent is clear to copy the other channel, or content that is intended to look like someone else is posting it. Now there's a bunch of text here that I will leave on screen in case you have that sinking feeling that you may be flying too close to the sun. Long story short, you want to be careful of that. But the next thing I want to talk about, harassment and cyberbullying. Now, a lot of people might have questions about this because there is a fair amount of content that you could say is essentially harassment, or at least you could say very much borderline harassment on YouTube. So the key things here are little side comments, jokes, probably not a big deal, but prolonged insults and slurs, again, specifically targeted towards their physical traits or protected group status, not cool. Also, any behaviors like threats or doxing, not okay. And YouTube are specifically tough on this policy, as they should be, when it comes to content that targets minors. But the next thing that can get your channel banned that I see a lot of small creators do when they watch videos that talk about how important title and thumbnail are is they clickbait. And I'm not talking about making clickable titles and thumbnails. We're talking about titles and thumbnails that don't really represent the content at all. Like people click on your title and thumbnail expecting one thing and they end up getting something very, very different. And YouTube is getting decent at detecting this because it has Google Vision that can analyze frames and thumbnails. And if there's clearly a big mismatch, YouTube's AI might flag your video, you could get a strike. And the only exception to this rule, and this is actually in YouTube's terms and conditions, is... Now the next thing is a setting that if set incorrectly could get your video taken down, a strike, and again 3 strikes, your channel's gone. And it's becoming particularly prominent now with the explosion of AI creator tools. Now YouTube doesn't have a problem with AI creator tools. What it has a problem with is you using them unethically or you not telling people that you're using them. So first, you telling people that you're using them. When you upload a video now, you're going to see this altered content section. And it's going to ask you, do any of the following describe your content? Make a real person appear to say or do something they didn't say or do, alters footage of real event or place, generates a realistic looking scene that didn't actually occur. If you're using AI to do any of these things, you want to make sure you're clicking on yes here. The other thing is, if you're using AI to create an avatar or voice of someone who actually exists and they see that, they could legitimately hit you with a copyright strike, and there's not really much you can do about it aside from take the hit. And just 3 of those and your whole channel's gone. And I think this is one we're gonna have to be especially careful of, since the last few years have sort of felt like the Wild West when it comes to AI. So while YouTube is not against AI in the slightest, you definitely wanna be careful using it in a way that could be seen as unethical. So the next thing that could get your channel deleted is something that might sound obvious on the surface, but there's a lot of implications people don't realize. So it's YouTube's child safety policy. And you might be thinking, yeah, obviously, can't bully minors, I get it. And on YouTube, minor is someone under 18. Videos that sexualize minors, obviously not cool, but also that contain harmful or dangerous acts involving minors. So content showcasing a minor participating in dangerous activities or encouraging minors to do dangerous activities, especially if someone watching could intimidate that dangerous act, is not cool. So if you're posting a video of your younger brother Cliff, that could be seen as encouraging a minor or showcasing a minor committing a dangerous act, because it could be classified as a dangerous stunt or challenge. And there's actually a fair amount of things that would fall under this umbrella. And you can see the full list of things YouTube are not a fan of right here. Long story short though, any videos featuring someone under the age of 18, you gotta be really careful with that, because even if YouTube's not good enough right now to flag that stuff automatically, if one disgruntled viewer flags your video, pretty decent chance that video is getting a strike. It's gonna be really hard to argue your way out of. Now, the next thing that can get your channel deleted is spreading misinformation. How do we define misinformation? Well, there are a couple of main categories YouTube focus on. So suppression of census participation, essentially content aimed to mislead voters, manipulating content in a way that may impose a serious risk of egregious harm, and misattributing content, like using old footage and claiming it to be new footage. And the 2 big danger areas here are politics and health. So if you can, helps to stay away from those topics. But if you can't, again, figure out what the big channels in your niche have been doing for a while. And if a number of them are all doing the same thing, chances are that's what you should be doing too. Some other things YouTube doesn't like is nudity and sexual content, unless you're either breastfeeding, camping, or trying on see-through clothes. Don't know why, but those ones seem to get through. Which I feel like, based on YouTube's own rules, are flying very close to the sun, but they seem to get through. So if you're in one of those niches, good on you. And then we've also got 2 more obvious ones. We've got violent, gory content, which is why most videos on YouTube that include injuries, death, etc. will blur it out. Unless it is gaming, which they can flag, but they're a lot more lenient with, or professionally sanctioned fights, for example, like the MMA. And another one we see people have problems with, who would have guessed, firearms content. Now you can create content around firearms, you just have to be careful about showing people how to make firearms or ammo, modify guns, or get guns, especially in countries that are meant to be harder to get guns. On top of that, especially when it comes to live streaming, there is to be no handling of guns or even transporting them. But usually general hunting, safety, history-related gun videos, they're all good. And last but not least thing I want to talk about, we have the Holy Grail. It's been around since 2013. The classic keyword stuffing. Sometimes you want your video to rank higher in search. When small creators hear that YouTube actually uses their descriptions for SEO, they'll often go and spam a bunch of keywords in them, which goes against YouTube's keyword stuffing policy. So if you're trying to include keywords in your description, you want to do it in 2 ways. First, you want to write the description in a way that it looks like it's written for humans, not robots, but still include those keywords in your sentences or paragraphs. The second thing is you can use hashtags, because you can actually use up to 60 hashtags as long as YouTube doesn't deem them as being too repetitive. Now, I don't think they make that big of a difference, to be honest, but as a really small channel trying to rank in search, trying to give YouTube as much information as possible about your videos. There's definitely no harm that comes from doing it. But now we've covered the main ways that most YouTube channels get deleted. Click the video on screen. I'm going to walk you through how to actually start getting views on your videos, because if you're not getting views, YouTube starts to suck really fast. And heck, if you have no viewers, you might as well not be uploading to YouTube in the first place. So who cares if your channel gets deleted? So check out that video on screen right now, and I'll see you there.